Kiwis love a thirst. Like Finn, we're making waves. Generate. Switch online today.
Lulu Sun, welcome to my podcast.
Not happy to be here.
And this is your first ever in-person podcast.
Yes.
How so?
I never had the opportunity to kind of do one. So, I mean, since I was traveling everywhere in preseason, so I did them mostly on Zoom. So this is a good opportunity to kind of see what it's like to be in a podcast studio.
Well, is it a good opportunity? We'll find out at the end. We're recording this on Boxing Day 2024, which is most New Zealanders is at the beach now. But I'm here working, and you're working as well. You're back in New Zealand for the ASB Classic.
Yes.
So Christmas Day yesterday, what did that look like?
I had a morning break, to stay in, but then I was up and training, and it was funny because we went to the club and the gym was pitch black. There was no one there apart from tennis players. So it was really kind of funny to see on Christmas Day that the only people working was tennis players. Yeah.
And this is officially the biggest entourage of anyone that's come in for a podcast. So you came in with your PA. Yeah. Your sister.
Yeah.
And who else?
And a friend of hers.
How good. You've got an entourage.
Yeah.
This is badass. I love it. Now, let me see if I've got this straight, the Lulu Sun backstory. So you're 23 years old.
Yes.
You're born in TeAnau.
Yes.
Chinese mum, Croatian dad.
Yes.
Oh, German stepdad.
Yes.
And you left New Zealand for Shanghai when you were 4, 5?
Something like that, but I didn't stay for long.
In Shanghai?
Yeah.
And
it was a couple of years, but then I started tennis, and that's when I moved to Florida, and then that's where I kind of started my tennis journey.
Where did Switzerland, I've got here that you were in Switzerland for a while as well.
Yeah, so I kind of moved when I was 8 or 9, and I've stayed there, until university, I guess. But because of tournaments, I'm not there often. So,
do you feel like a New Zealander? Like you're such a citizen of the world.
Yeah, I mean, I do I think because I was in the South a lot, or I try to be I come back every so often. I really enjoy it, and I always feel I'm back home. And that's the same, if I go back to China or if I go back to Switzerland, I'm home. Because,
so many homes.
Yeah, because I don't know, I grew up in it, and I, know how everything works, and, and it just feels comfortable versus, if you go to, let's say, I don't know, somewhere in Africa or the Middle East, you're not used to that, and so you feel, uncomfortable in a way. But in these countries that I grew up in, I always, whenever I come back, I feel at home and at ease.
And TeAnau's a beautiful place.
Yeah.
It's absolutely stunning. On this trip back to New Zealand, you're not going to get to go down there, but your nana has come up to Auckland to see you.
Yeah.
And you told me just before we started recording that after the Aussie Open, you're hoping to maybe get down there.
Yeah.
I'll get your PA to sort out some flights or something. Hey, well, it's wonderful to have you playing for New Zealand now. So you've played tennis for Croatia, for Switzerland, and now New Zealand.
Yes.
Yeah. Hell of a story how this all came about at the beginning of, around about this time the beginning of 2024.
Yeah.
Yeah, we'll get to that shortly. But first of all, I found online 5 of the best, what I'll call sun pun headlines. And I'm sure you've heard of all of these or seen all of them. So I want to run these past you and see what you think is the best name-based pun headline to do with you. Sun outshines opponent.
Okay.
By the way, do these get tiresome? Or you quite like it?
I don't know, because I don't really most of the time I don't look at them, like unless my family or my friends they're like, haha, look, look at the title, and then I was like, oh, okay.
Okay, so yeah, there's sun outshines opponent, sun's out, rackets out.
Okay.
Here comes the sun.
Okay.
Sun outshines Raducanu, and sun has risen to Brighton, Wimbledon.
Oh wow, that's a long one.
Have you heard any of these, or you see? Do you not have Google alerts out on your name?
No.
No. Yeah, do you just find it's unhealthy to read stuff about yourself, or?
No, I don't really have that interest really. And again, like usually when I do hear about stuff, it's usually someone else telling me, and I'm like, oh, okay. But I don't know. I'm not very interested. Like I just like, cause I know what happened, right? I did the interviews, so I'm like, I know what's happening. Yeah. So usually it's like, my friend or my family, they would look into it and they're like, oh, look at this, what you said, haha, that's so funny. I'm just like, okay.
That's such a healthy attitude to have. Because I suppose if you read the good stuff about yourself, again, you know what the result is.
Yeah.
If you read the good stuff about yourself, you also sort of have to read the bad stuff as well. And
exactly.
It's very
and
toxic.
I don't want to really get into it, so I just keep myself out of it most of the time. And it's kind of like, also on social media, especially like coming up in ITFs, like the smaller tournaments, there's a lot of, which is like, this is also an issue which a lot of players have said, is like the bettors, they would like, whether they bet you to lose or win, they would comment on your social media. And like, I found that it was like, kind of like, if I kept looking at it, it would just be worse. So I stopped kind of being too much into it and just kind of focusing on everything else, really.
Yeah, you say that like it's no big deal, but that's easier said than done. I think if I was in your position and there was someone that wrote a negative article about me, I'd be looking to see who wrote the article. I'd be Googling them, looking them on social media, scrolling through their old photos. I'd be consumed by it.
I mean, you get like positives and you get support, and obviously there's going to be the other side of it. So people can have their opinions, and everyone thinks differently or views differently, depending on how you looked at it. So to me, I'm not gonna fight. I'm not gonna be worried about someone else's opinion, because I have my own opinions as well on different topics and different people. So I just let it go, kind of, because it's not like I can do much about it, right?
Oh, good for you. Have you had like a sports psychologist or anything, or any mentors or coaches, or is this just something that...
This is just what I think, yeah.
Yeah, well, I suppose you have to be, because otherwise you'd just be a maniac, eh?
Yeah.
There'd be so much distractions off the court that would just not... Yeah, good for you. Did you like any of those? What was your favourite out of those 5?
Probably... The Wimbledon one was kind of long, though.
Sun has risen to Brighton, Wimbledon.
Yeah.
6 words.
Yeah.
I thought that was really good. I thought that was really clever. Okay, so, let's reflect on the year 2020, 2024, because it's been a crazy year, and we'll go through everything bit by bit. But at the beginning of the year, you came to New Zealand to play in the ASB Classic as a relative unknown, playing for Switzerland. Then there was the whole Wimbledon thing that happened, the Olympic Games. You started the year 2024 as the 210th best tennis player in the world, and you're sitting here now as the 40th best tennis player in the world. For me and anyone else that has no clue how this works, like, what is the difference between 210 and 40th in terms of your game and things?
To be honest, like the top 200 players, there's not, in a level of play, there's not really much of a difference. It's just that if you're 200, of course you're not going to play all like the WTA events, which has more points and more money, because you're not going to get in all of them. And so those smaller tournaments per se, they're going to have, you're all going to be similar level, but you're going to fight for points that are much less, and which is gonna give you like less of a jump, right? And obviously there's the other part of, you're not earning as much money as a top, let's say 60. Obviously it depends where you're from. And I'd say, so then you wouldn't have such a big team like a top 20 player or top 30 or top 40. So it's like kind of hard to juggle. And so your schedule is also very hectic because you don't know which tournament you're going to get in. So that's probably the only difference. And obviously, like maybe the top 20 and top 10, physically, they might be stronger. But game-wise, also more experience. And probably they see the game better. But in general, it's quite, I'd say, the same. It's just maybe someone more has a little bit more fight in them, or maybe they have better tactics or something. Those small things, yeah.
Well, thanks for that explanation.
I
So when you rank 200th in the world, on a good day, you could still beat like someone that's number in the top 10.
I'd say like 200 versus top 10. The top 10 is a bit different because I think that, like I said, they probably have, I'd say, better physical than someone who's 200 because they've been on tour for a longer period of time, and they've also played more high intensity matches than someone, let's say, in 200 would play. And so it's kind of like the season for the top 10 player is very different from a season a player who's 200.
Okay, so from where you are now, top 40th in the world, what's the difference between, say, 40 and top 10? Like, can you get there this year?
I mean, anything's possible, right? But it's definitely going to take a lot of work. I still have a lot of areas to improve. And, like, of course, this is, like, probably technically my first year on tour because, at least for the WTA it is, because for the past 2 years I haven't really played a lot of WTA tournaments. I have played mostly ITFs, and that's like a whole another system. Like, WTA is mainly, apart from the Grand Slams, it's all the high level tournaments that you see on TV. And then the rest of them below that is the ITF tournaments. And that's what, like, outside the top 100, that's what they play.
What is, so WTA, Women's Tennis Association?
Yeah.
And what's IT?
International Tennis Federation.
And this year, 2024, you've been named the WTA Newcomer of the Year.
Yeah.
It's awesome.
Yeah.
It's so badass.
Like, the other I knew the ones who were nominated as well. I knew what they achieved, and they've also achieved, like, really great things. So I was super, honored and grateful to be able to receive the award. And it just meant, like, how, this year what we've accomplished, but also, like, it's kind of a sign to kind of keep moving forward and keep working hard for the next, level.
Yeah, 100%. Build on that momentum. And speaking of that, so 2025, if everything that you dream or manifest happens, how will the year look?
I'm hoping, I'm trying to work hard to be able to, win a WTA tournament. I was close this year. I went to the finals in a 500, so that's what I'm hoping to achieve in the next season. And as well as, like, obviously keep improving my ranking, because that helps as well. If you're seeded in a tournament versus you're unseeded, it makes a big difference sometimes. And, to go far in the slams.
Yeah. Do you allow yourself to think really big, like real fucking big, like Grand Slam big? Like, can you win a Grand Slam?
I mean, that's what I think everyone's working for as a tennis player. You dream to be on those big stages, to achieve big things. And, it's kind of a step-by-step process, obviously. So it's not going to come like that. But that's where I'm heading towards. That's where I'm working for.
Yeah, because as someone that knows very little about tennis, like, it seems on paper like you could be able to do it. Like, you beat Raducanu at Wimbledon last year, and she's won the US Open. So it's like you're capable of beating
Well,
someone that's
yeah,
a
if
real...
you look at it that way, yeah.
Is it not as easy as that?
It's not because, every year there's different, like maybe they resurface the courts or the balls are different. Like, for example, when she won US Open, the balls were actually different from what US Open balls are now. And so there's very different scenarios. And, she might have been playing that year like amazing tennis, and she might have felt she was obviously injury free, so it's like different kind of things that happen, and you never know what can happen. And obviously like the draw matters. You can have an easy draw, you can have a tough draw, and it depends. So if you work hard enough and you're able to kind of work through all these things, it doesn't matter what's going to come your way. You're able to like kind of move past it. So that's where I kind of want to be. So you don't have to, it's not, I wouldn't say luck per se, but there's certain timings that have to happen sometimes. And I hope that I can work, well enough to, not have to have those certain timings in place sometimes, and just kind of, pave my way.
Yeah. So a lot of variables that go.
Yeah, a lot of variables. Yeah.
Okay. So let's go back to the early years. So what are your memories of TeAnau as like a tiny? Do you have many memories of them as a toddler?
Honestly, a lot of my memories from TeAnau is basically like farm life, because that's most of the Southland is like forests and sheep and all that. And yeah, basically nature, most of it. Yeah.
And your older sister, who's just sitting through the glass now. Hi. Is that sort of how you got into tennis?
Yeah, so originally my mom wanted her to start playing, and as a younger sibling, whatever your older sister does, you do. So I was I was put into it, and at that time, like when I started playing, my friends which were my age were already kind of doing mini tennis, rallying, and she was playing as well, and like I was struggling to kind of hit a ball, like just hit it over the net. So my mom was like super concerned, and she was like, maybe we should change sport where she doesn't have to move. So she was like thinking of changing to golf, but then she's like, nah, that's too complicated. So then she's just stuck with it, and I was just like, I kept going. And because I'm super competitive by nature, I think, because growing up with, my sister, and we're both playing the same thing, I've always wanted to, catch up to her and, beat her. So I think that was kind of a helpful kind of tool and motivation from the get-go. And that kind of helped me gradually pave like my game and my tennis. Yeah.
Was your mum quite pushy, or was she just sort of like, have a go at tennis. If you like it, you can play it. If you don't like it, we'll find something else.
Well, at that point, I've already like had a go at different sports. I was skiing. I did ballet. I did music. So I was kind of in different activities, and kind of that point, I was just a lot of the hours were in tennis. But then again, I was in school, so it wasn't like 8 hours a day or something like that. It was just like maybe 2 hours or 1 hour. And especially like when I started middle school, I would only have like an hour a day or an hour and a half after I finished school and before I had to study. So I don't know, it just kind of happened that way. Like tennis just kind of happened and I stuck to it. So I don't know. It wasn't really pushy, I guess, but it happened in a way.
That's so annoying. So you're the 40th best tennis player in the world. You made the top 16 at Wimbledon, and the quote is tennis just kind of happened.
Yeah.
WTF. That's crazy. Because I've had Lydia. Do you know Lydia Ko at all? Have you met her?
I haven't met her,
Yeah.
unfortunately, but I know.
Yeah.
Obviously, I know her of her.
I had her early mental skills coach, David Neathie, on the podcast, and he started working with her when she was like 7 or 8. And his job, or the instructions that he was given by her parents, was to try and sort of hold her back because she just wanted to. She was obsessed. Like she had that, and it seems like you've always been quite balanced with the tennis. Like you've just been quite normal and well adjusted.
Yeah, I mean, it wasn't like originally. It's not like my mom was like, "You're gonna be a professional tennis player," or I didn't look at like a match and I was like, "I'm gonna be a professional tennis player" when I was like 5 years old. It just kind of, I was doing it for the fun, and I was doing it because, as well, like she put us into sports, because it's healthy for you and it's good to move around. So we were never kind of thinking about being a professional tennis. It just kind of gradually happened again. And towards like the end of my juniors, I kind of, because I was playing all the Grand Slams, obviously, and you see like all the professionals, and I thought it was quite, cool to experience that and kind of the system of how they play and all, and I would see like all their coaches and the way they warmed up, and I was like, wow, that's so like professional, which I'm not doing any of that, but yeah, so but then I also had to focus on my studies as well, and that's why I went to university, because my mom was very keen on kind of getting first that degree and having some sort of safety net for you to kind of go full on, or to have no doubts, kind of
Something to fall back on.
Yeah, like you never know, because sometimes tennis players, like you have really good tennis players, but then they have injuries and they have to stop, or sometimes, I don't know, something happens, like look at COVID, It's like you never know what could happen, so to have something as a safety net is always a good idea. It's not, nothing bad comes from it. So.
Yeah. And you still love it?
Yeah.
Because have you read the Andre Agassi book, Open?
Yeah.
Yeah, like you read that, and like tennis has been very good to him, but he's got it's a heartbreaking book. Like he's got a very sort of conflicted relationship with the sport that's made him famous. Would you recognise it if you were getting to that point?
I mean, probably, and I think our people around me would probably recognize, but I don't think that's why I try to like kind of balance things out and to try to, I mean, obviously I have to think about it outside of the court as well a bit, but I think I have to kind of balance it out. If not, then you're just gonna kind of go a bit crazy. Yeah.
Because I had heaps of like retired All Blacks and other sports stars on the podcast, and most of them say the same thing. Like in the end, what got to them was not the weekend stuff, like playing the game, but it was the in-between stuff, like the training during the week, the meetings during the week, and the other stuff that you don't see. I'm guessing to get to your level, like there's a lot of other shit that goes on behind the scenes.
Yeah, I mean, it's a lot of hours of practice. It's a lot of hours of fitness, and also you review your matches with your coach. So there's all sorts of things that happen in the background that usually, I think majority of the people don't see. Because even at tournaments when you're practicing, it's kind of, you practice an hour and a half maybe, but it's not the same as, let's say preseason, or maybe during the season you have like 2 weeks off before you train. No one like is going to go and watch you. Like there's not going to be a crowd of people that is watching you. So it's definitely, but it's necessary, right? You have to do those things to improve. Otherwise, it's tough to kind of do it in a tournament. But yeah, that's why I think a lot of tennis players, you're constantly traveling, you're constantly with the same people, you constantly see the same people, and after a while, it does get repetitive, but that's why I think it's really important to kind of just go outside of that system in a way, and so you're not so I don't know how to explain, like, I don't know, you get out of energy, or maybe you find it like boring, or you find it like you can't do it anymore. So I think that's like a really good way to just kind of balance it out.
Do you ever wake up in the morning and have to pause for a second and think about where in the world you are? Does that ever?
Not so much like where, but like what day is it? What is, like, is it Monday? Is it Sunday? Yeah.
But you don't even, you've got a PA now. You've got Dominica sitting out there, so you don't even need to worry about that shit. She can tell you what day of the week it is.
Yeah.
How cool! That must be cool, having a PA.
Yeah. She's a good, very good PA, and bosses me around. Oh,
does
good.
she? You're the boss.
Yeah, but it's good. Like, you have someone telling you, oh, you have this on your schedule, and that, it's a good thing.
Yeah, that's great. So, Chris Bing from Tennis New Zealand. So it was almost a year ago. It was at the beginning of 2024.
Yeah.
When you were in New Zealand for the ASB Classic as a Switzerland player, that you connected with him. So how did that come about? He slid into your DMs. He slid into, didn't he, on social media? Slid into your DMs.
Yeah, I think so. I don't, like, and then I spoke with my team, and I was like, oh, I think, like, New Zealand, like, someone from New Zealand has contacted me, and they're like, oh, just, like, see what, like, he wants to talk about or something. And yeah, so that kind of happened. Like,
such a random way to go. I suppose he didn't know how to reach out to you, so your DM slide, it's fine. So then you guys went for a walk around Mount Eden?
Yeah, Mount Bonnell, yeah.
Yeah. And then what did you talk about?
Just like what Tennis New Zealand's at, kind of what the future would hold, and all that general stuff. Yeah.
So did he try and sort of like woo you or convince you to come to
Not
play for New
really.
Zealand?
I mean, he was just like kind of showing what Tennis New Zealand is at, and again, like what the future could hold. But he's like, I'm not like doing any, I'm just informing you. And I was like, okay, good to know, and I mean, technically, I've also played for New Zealand at one point during juniors, because they had a different system at one point. So I did play like for a short term for New Zealand before. Yeah, but it was kind of, I at that point I wasn't really, there was nothing to think about. It was just kind of, oh, here's some information, and that was, yeah.
So do they have to like offer you something? Do they give you some money to like come and play with us? Is it like a bidding war between Switzerland and New Zealand? I'm sorry, I'm so curious about this, because New Zealand tennis doesn't want anything to do with me. So and most people listening to this will never be in a situation where they have like countries like fighting over them.
Yeah,
it's a strange position to be in, Lulu.
Yeah, because I was like, it's very hard to kind of choose which country to kind of play for, because one, I've played for Switzerland practically all my life, but I've also grew up in New Zealand, and I it's not like I'm not from there, or I didn't grow up there. It's not foreign to me. So I was very conflicted about it. But then also, like, I thought about, like, tennis, obviously, we have Erin as she's #1 doubles player, and she's great doubles player, and she's doing really well as well.
Oh, yeah, you guys went to the Olympics together.
Yeah. And so I was kind of thinking about how, Swiss tennis has obviously great players in the past, and they have great players now. And I was thinking about how, if I were to play for New Zealand, I would be able to kind of bring, inspiration in a way, and, kind of grow tennis in New Zealand, because obviously, rugby is such a prominent sport here, or cricket, so I don't think tennis is one of like the top sports here, but it's nice to always see, people enjoy it and people who are curious about tennis and want to develop in tennis. And I just think, if we were to be able to, in the future, to have more and more players represent more and more better tennis players in New Zealand, it would be, something really, really cool. 'Cause Australia has really good tennis players, and we're their neighbors, so we gotta improve our players here.
Yeah. God, Switzerland must have been so pissed off after Wimbledon.
I
How
mean,
does that conversation go? Or do you just send them a note saying, hey, is it a process changing the country that you're playing for?
yeah, but it's just like you send an email and then they change it. Yeah. Like the flag it's not, you just send an email saying, yeah. But yeah, I'm still like really good relations with Swiss like tennis, and we're all good. And decisions have to be made at some point. Like I had to choose one or the other. So, and once it was done, I have to move forward, right?
Yeah, well, in the term of a lifespan, the tennis career is a very small part of it. So you have to look out for number one, don't you? You have to do what's right for you. Oh, good for you. Well, as a proud New Zealander, I'm very happy with the decision you made. So good for you. And apologies to Switzerland. Okay, let's talk about Wimbledon. This was, like, from a viewing perspective, this was surreal. So I can't imagine what it was like, being you. So you go to Wimbledon as like a qualifier?
Yeah.
Yeah. So what does that mean?
So in all the Grand Slams, usually the qualifiers are playing 1 week before, and they usually play at the vicinity of the Grand Slam. But with Wimbledon, because of the grass, we have to play at another site. So it's not at Wimbledon. And you play there for a week. The guys play at the same time. And depending on the schedule, like you either play 3 days in a row or you play 1 day and then you don't play the next day. So on and so forth. And it's pretty grueling because I think everyone's trying to fight and to qualify.
Because how many people get through to the tournament proper?
I think 8. I think so, 8. Yeah. So, and there's like 100. It's 128 draw, I think. So it's
wow.
Yeah. So you go through 3 matches basically, and yeah, you just kind of fight it out. And I almost didn't qualify again in the second round, but I managed to pull through and just kept fighting.
So you qualify for Wimbledon proper, and what's that like? Who do you call first? You call your mum?
She was actually there.
Oh,
so
cool.
But yeah, so my mom was there, my coaches were there, so I was just kind of, okay, we did this. It's nice. But I also did it in Australian Open, and so I was kind of like, now, like, let's try to, kind of keep working. It's not over. There's still more matches to come. Because in Australian Open I did qualify, and I was like, oh my god, this is so amazing, and I think I kind of was a bit overexcited, and so I didn't really perform that well in my first round, and I was kind of like, whatever happens now, you're at Wimbledon, you're playing, one of the 4 Grand Slams, just give it your all. And although I was like, oh, wouldn't it be funny if I played a top player? And then I ended up playing on the first round. I was like, oh, no. And it's tough because, like, obviously you've played matches beforehand. But, playing a top level player is, like, quite different, especially for a first round. But I was just thinking, you're given this opportunity. You might as well, put full fight and full effort, and just see where it goes.
Yeah, so that opening round, who was the top player?
Zheng Qingwen, she was the top one Chinese player. She's
Right.
number one in China.
And what's her world ranking?
Right now, I think she's 6 in the world.
Unreal,
Yeah.
unreal. So you were 200 and something in the world at this.
Yeah.
So you were lucky. First of all, you're lucky to be at Wimbledon in the first place.
Yeah.
And in this first round, there's a game, there's a match that no one's expecting you to win.
Yeah.
Did you think you could win? Did you believe?
I didn't really put it on a win and lose. I was just kind of in the moment type of thing. And I didn't really look in the future like, oh my God, I don't think I'm going to win, or oh, I am going to win sort of thing. So yeah, I was just kind of in the moment.
And then, because so you lose the game and you're out of the tournament. That's it. Your Wimbledon experience over. You win, you go, and you keep going until you lose a game. So where was that game played? Was that on like the centre court or one of? Because a lot of people may not know this about Wimbledon because you see it on TV.
Yeah.
But it's actually centre court is one court, but then it's a whole big complex. There's courts everywhere.
Yeah. So there's centre court, which is the biggest court.
Mm-hmm.
Then there's court 1, which is still big. It's big compared to all the rest of the courts, but it's smaller than the centre court. Then there's court 3, which is it's a stadium as well, but smaller again than court 1. Then the rest of the courts are kind of called ground courts, and that's where like people can walk by. So there's no like sitting and staying. Like people are constantly walking by, and you have to play during. People can talk, people can walk, anything. There's also court 18, which is like kind of a stadium-ish court because there's like a high seats here, and then there's court here, and then you have smaller seating here. So it's like a smaller-ish stadium. But yeah, then the rest of the courts are kind of ground courts. I was supposed to play on 18, but then they move us because the court was finishing faster in court 3 instead of court 18. So we were moved to court 3, which is a bigger court. And I was like, oh, okay. I guess we're moving also to a bigger court. So yeah, it was quite an first round experience.
How the hell did you not crumble under the pressure? You're playing a top 10 player. It's first time at Wimbledon. You're lucky to be there. You're on court 3. Like, yeah, when you reflect on that, you must be immensely proud of yourself.
Yeah, I mean, I was, as you say, I was just happy to be there. And honestly, like, in the past I have, like, been nervy in a way. Like, for example, the first round of Australian Open, I was kind of nervy and I didn't perform. And so this time around, I really, just wanted to enjoy myself and kind of put in full effort and just, play my game in a way. So that's kind of how I went on about it. And for the crowd, I kind of don't put full focus around it. I just kind of first, before I look where my coaches are, sometimes they sit in different areas, but yeah, I first look out where they are, and then after that I just spot them, and then I focus on the court, and that's about it. Then it's just outside noise in a way.
Because as the tournament progressed, here in New Zealand, it became like a groundswell of support. The name Lulu Sun was becoming bigger, and the sun was shining brighter and brighter with every win, and everyone was getting really excited. And in TeAnau at the local tennis club, people were getting up early in the morning to go and watch it. Yeah. What did it feel like for you? Were you sort of cocooned from that, or were you aware of the external noise?
My family told me about it, and I was just very, very grateful for all of it. Because any support you get is really great, especially coming from my hometown is quite crazy, to see people kind of staying up so late to watch my matches. So it was really surreal.
And then, so what? You have a game every.
Dom,
yeah.
Can you wrap it up in the next 3 minutes?
Oh, really?
Just because she has to go training.
Okay.
But that's right. Sorry to interrupt.
All right. Oh, I just got the wrap up. We've got to wrap up. Game, set, and match. Wow, this is so cool. It's been great to talk to you. So, all right, where are we going to go? Okay, so so you make it. How far do you get in Wimbledon? Top 16.
Quarterfinals.
Yeah, so is that top 8?
So, yeah. Top
Yeah.
8.
So because of that, there's lifetime perks. Like you're in a thing called the top 8 club. So
Yeah.
you get to go to Wimbledon for the rest of your life. And what happens? That's so cool, right?
Yeah.
Oh my God! And what about some of the people you met? You got to rub shoulders with Martina Navratilova and Billie Jean King. What do those conversations look like? Do they give you some advice?
Yeah, they're giving advice about tennis and off-court tennis as well. And it was kind of really crazy to, meet those great tennis players, great champions from the past. And, just to meet them in general was amazing, but to have also their experience and to listen to their knowledge as well was great as well.
And the tennis racket that got you that far, where's that? Is that like a lucky racket that you still play with, or has it been auctioned off for charity? Or
No, I gave a couple of my rackets from Wimbledon away. But yeah, I don't use the same racket because Yannick's has a new racket now, so I'm using the new version of it. But yeah, it's the same model in a way, but just new, updated version.
Yeah. Hey, well, this has been great. My show is sponsored by the Generate Kiwi Saver scheme, who are massive fans of yours. They've actually reached out to you on Instagram. They'd love to sponsor you and be involved with you. But one thing they allow me to do with all my guests is give you $500 to give to a charity of your choice, as long as you answer a couple of quick questions. So what's your charity of choice?
Well, I'm currently a new charity that I've been collaborating with, and I'm now an ambassador of is the Sustainable Coastlines, and they're from Auckland, and so they are basically doing litter intelligence, and it's a great way to kind of see what's happening in our waters and how we can deal with it, and just kind of paint a picture for everyone to see, and all of those information is kind of online, and it's a great way to kind of, because it is an important issue, I think, to know about plastics and just sustainability. So that's probably what I would pick with. Yeah.
Awesome. Well, they're really lucky to have you as an ambassador. So $500 for that charity if you just answer these quick questions. Lulu Sun, what is the best piece of advice you've been given about money?
Money. Invest it. Invest when you can. And spend it thoughtfully on different types of assets in a way, but also I'd say to spend it sometimes for yourself.
Yeah, that was going to be my next question. Are you a spender or a saver?
More of a saver.
What's been your worst money mistake? Have you bought anything stupid?
No,
No.
because I like sometimes stupid things in a way, like cute stickers or stuff like that.
Stickers? What do you mean?
Well, I like to get stickers or stationery and like little trinkets.
Oh,
And in a way, you can say those are stupid things, but I don't know. I like them, so.
Well, if you're going to go to Wimbledon and win $700,000, you can buy yourself some bloody stickers if you want. Does money buy you happiness?
No, I don't think so. It's very all materialistic things, and I think you can buy certain things, but you can't buy, let's say, time. You can't buy relationships in life, and good quality relationships at that. So I think that's more important than materialistic things.
Yeah, that's a great answer. This is a long way off for you, but when you retire, not from tennis, but just from work, where would you like to retire?
Oof. A lot of my friends have been asking me that, and I have no idea. So I've had a couple of countries in my head, but honestly, no idea. I maybe potentially New Zealand, have a farm of my own. Who knows? But yeah, I don't know.
And what's the best thing about being a Kiwi?
Best thing about being a Kiwi, to have this massive support. You know, I'm from the same country as All Blacks. We have pretty good, I'd say we have amazing nature, and also a lot of fun things to do, like skydiving, rafting, those types of things, and also our animals here.
Lulu Sun, $500 from the Generate KiwiSaver scheme to your charity. Hey, thank you so much for joining me today.
Thanks so much.
Really appreciate it. Good luck for 2025. Let's go.
Thank you.